I'm the Special Crimes Bureau Chief with the Montgomery County District Attorney's Office. Just want to give you just a kind of what's going to occur here. You're going to hear from Brett Ligon, the District Attorney, Montgomery County District Attorney. You're also going to hear from Brian Moskowitz, who is the Special Agent in charge for Homeland Security. He's going to give you a few words as well. And then after that, we'll allow a few questions to take place, and so it should wrap up fairly quickly. So I'll turn it over to Brett Ligon.
Good afternoon. Thank y'all for coming this afternoon. What we want to do is kind of introduce the public at large to Operation Safe Summer. It began in April, culminated in May of this year. There were approximately over 42 arrests have been made by the task force in 2015, but Operation Safe Summer had 26 people arrested. Now, one of the reasons that you would ask the media is because oftentimes the media is the one that helps us get the message out. And so you think to yourself, all right, well, why a press conference versus a press release? Well, there's three goals to this press conference, and one is to help educate the public, because only media can help us get the message out there. What you're having here are today's modern day criminals. And so over my right shoulder and over my left, and I'm not talking about the men and women in law enforcement here, but I'm talking about are these booking photos. In the 1800s, it was a pistol, and that's what they used for crime. In the 1900s, it was machine guns. In the 21st century, crime is conducted through computers. And so what we're asking is that the public start to educate themselves about the new type of crime that's pervading everything within our community, and it's mainly online solicitation and child pornography. The second thing is we want to educate another community. We're out there to educate the pedophilic community, the community of predators, the community that's trying to take our children. And the message to that community is it's prison time for pedophiles. In Montgomery County, we are putting pedophiles and predators of children in prison. In fact, just since May, 2 of these suspects have already pled guilty and received over a combined 50 years in prison. Our numbers in regards to them show that we're not taking any prisoners when it comes to pedophiles and predators in the community. And then the third one is really to prevent future abuse. Those of us who have access to your iPhones and to laptops, you also need to have the same access to your children. So let's don't squander our time here. And so we're going to try to keep this short because we know everybody has a job to do. But the thing that the media can do better than anybody else is to keep everybody on task. Help us educate the community that needs to be protected, educate the pedophile community. They need to be taking a dirt road around Montgomery County and not a cyber trail through Montgomery County. But the last part is to prevent future crime. That's the benefit that the media can do, and so that's what we're asking. Now, what we have behind me is a combined group effort. We've got federal agents involved, as well as our local task force. We've got representatives from Precinct 1, Constable's Office, Constable Don Chumley, Precinct 2, Constable Gene DeForest. Gene's over here to my left. Precinct 3, which is Constable Ryan Gable. Precinct 4, Constable Rowdy Hayden. Precinct 5, which is Constable David Hill. All of those constables have people that are involved in internet crimes against children task force here within Montgomery County. But we've also partnered with our federal agents. And behind me I've got Director, I'll let him introduce himself. His name is Brian Moskowitz, and it's the Department of Homeland Security Investigations. And I'll let him talk a little bit about them. And then after he's done a few things and talked about what the critical aspect that the federal agencies play, then we'll take it up to some questions, because I have a feeling that y'all are here to find out perhaps who some of these more notable suspects are. I'll turn it over to Brian. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Brian Moskowitz, and I am what's known as the Special Agent in charge of Homeland Security Investigations. For those of you who don't know, Homeland Security Investigations, or HSI, is the investigative arm of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, an agency under the Department of Homeland Security. And I'm very happy to be here, and I appreciate the invitation by the District Attorney to participate in this important event, and as he said, in getting this message out. I say that not only as the head of a federal law enforcement agency, but also as a Montgomery County resident. So I appreciate the DA's leadership and the leadership of all the men behind me and the men and women that they represent. Sadly, child pornography, child exploitation is a global problem. It is a problem that knows no social or economic barriers. It is everywhere, and it is a problem that not one agency alone can fight on its own. And so partnerships that are as represented here by the people in this room and the people they represent is critical if we're going to have an impact. You know, kids are abused in all different ways, and they are the most vulnerable in our society. You can have instances where you have physical abuse or people exploited for their images and the things that are turned into child pornography. Both of these tragic events in a child's life can scar them for their entire lives. And what's sad, and I don't know if the public understands this, is that most people who abuse children know those children. 89% of kids that are abused by someone are abused as a family member or a close family friend. And that is just a sobering statistic. 8% are abused by people they have relationships with outside of the family, like teachers and coaches and people in their communities. Only 3% are abused by strangers. And so those strangers are kind of represented behind me. But the message is the greatest threat comes from people you know. And parents and those that have kids or care about kids need to understand that. So we're very happy to be part of this effort. We play the behind-the-scenes role in this. We have computer forensics experts that work with the agencies behind me to help develop the evidence to help the DA's office prosecute these cases. We stand there as partners, and we want to continue helping our community be safe and to protect those who cannot protect themselves. So thank you.
Thank you. And before I go any further, I'd be remiss without saying our partnership with Conroe PD, Conroe Police Department, has been instrumental. When we envisioned a task force, the first person I went to was Conroe Police Chief Philip Cleves, standing over here to my left. And he said, yes, we'll put somebody within there, and as long as you're going to do this, we want to be a part of it. And so when I kind of gave the gallery of people that are involved, Conroe PD was actually one of the very first agencies to be involved. And I think what you need to know from Brian is when it comes to child sex crimes and dealing with computer, there's two really that we deal with. One is child pornography, right? The other one is solicitation. And so the majority of these cases are solicitation of a child, in which case we have an investigator who's been made contact from a person in the community who's seeking to have a sexual dalliance with a minor child. Whether that minor child is a male or a female, the role that the investigator is playing is taking on the role of this child. And so we've got online solicitation cases, but we also have child pornography cases. And so the Internet Crimes Against Children typically is investigating both types of crimes. Now, it should come as no surprise that many of the people that are arrested for online solicitation of a child are also found to be in possession of child pornography. Now, why do y'all see us continue to hammer this, and why? The reason is because if you're trying to reduce the incidence of child sexual assault, the incestuous ones that Brian referred to are difficult to detect and they're difficult to prosecute because oftentimes you have delayed outcry, right? And so if you're really trying to reduce incidents of child sexual assault, then what you do is you go with a known element. And in this case, what do we know from the studies from the FBI, the Department of Justice, over and over and over? The vast majority of people that are found to be in possession of child pornography become what are called touch offenders. Now, a touch offender is somebody who's gone from the sexual fantasy of having child pornography, and now they want to assault a child. So now take the vast majority of those who have become touch offenders. What do we know about child sex victims? Most pedophiles have been victims of child sexual assault. So if you're trying to break the nexus, the causal link somewhere along the lines, then what we're starting with is the online solicitation and the child pornography cases. Because if we can put a person in prison, if we can stop them from their predatory practices, stop them from victimizing not one, but literally dozens and sometimes hundreds of victims, then what we can do is break that chain of child sexual assault. And so for every person who is not a victim of child sexual assault, then you're diminishing the pool of pedophiles in the future. And so this is not an overnight approach that law enforcement is taking into reducing child sexual assault. This is a very determined effort and a very specific effort, because we're trying to drive down the known causes of pedophilia and child sexual assault, which is why we're backing up into the crimes against children. And so without the partnership of law enforcement, we wouldn't have the ability to do that. Now, some of the points that I think that are important: since the formation of the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, we've arrested approximately 170 people here just within Montgomery County. Montgomery County dedicates as many resources in Montgomery County as Harris County does completely. We're a community of 600,000 people, and we have as many people doing child sex crimes here as all of Harris County does. That shows the dedication that law enforcement has in this community to stamping out this problem. It's resulted in over 315 charges since 2012, and like I said, in 2015 alone, 42 arrests have been made by the task force. So at this point, I'll turn it over to any questions that the media may have of myself, Brian, or any of the representatives from any of the other agencies, including the constables departments, as well as Conroe Police Department.
Can you comment on the Houston firefighter who was arrested, and I think, out of Magnolia, and also the band leader out of Cypress?
Yes, I'd be happy to. Now remember, only 2 of these people have been convicted, and so, you have to represent people's due process rights. These are mere allegations, and so what I can tell you is the name. I can tell you what the nature of the allegations are. I can tell you that the charges for a child solicitation against them. The individual for the band director was a band director for Truett Middle School, works for Cypress Fairbank Independent School District. He was arrested May the 18th for online solicitation of a minor. According to Nicole Ray, the superintendent of communications, the parents have already been notified. A letter went out to the parents of the school district. That individual has been suspended from Cypress Fairbanks pending the outcome of their own investigation, as well as the disposition of the criminal charges. Secondly, the one that you asked about was the firefighter. It's Jay Stamper. He was a fireman for the Houston Fire Department at Station 46. He was also a volunteer firefighter for the Magnolia Fire Department. He's been terminated from both of those positions. Now, once again, he's been arrested for online solicitation of a minor. Those charges are currently pending.
Wasn't there a military guy too?
There was a TDC guard, and the TDC guard is Prenton Vellon. He is still, I'm unaware of what his work status is with TDC, but his case is pending here in Montgomery County. It's Prenton Vellon, V-E-L-L-O-N is the last name. He was arrested May the 21st for online solicitation of a minor. So here's the other deal that Brian talked about, and I think that as parents, because most of you who I know on somewhat a professional level, I know that we've got wives, we've got husbands, and most of us are parents here, right? I think everybody kind of has in their mind what a pedophile looks like, and it's some dirty guy with long shaggy hair and fingernails. And if this board is not more of a representative cross-section of what a true pedophile looks like, then you're deceiving yourself. Pedophiles come in all colors. They come in all races, and they come in all genders. And so yes, stranger danger, but you also have to be aware, and you have to be an active parent to find out what your children are doing, because there is a predator on the other end of your child's screen. Parents, you need to take the opportunity to learn what is Grindr, what is Tinder, what is Vine, what is Instagram, because these are the devices that are being used for the pornography. So when you get a moment, take a look at these pictures, because I think you'll have a better representative sample of what a predator truly looks like.
Are those the ones that they use specifically in these cases?
Yes.
That you guys made?
Yes. They were booking photos with those 3. Would you like me to point them out?
No, I'm talking about the social media. So the ones you just listed, are those what they use or to use?
Across all forms of social media, whether it's Twitter, whether it's Instagram, whether it's Vine. There's other ones that are more on the proprietary investigative side, but yes, you've got a lot of social media that's being used to disseminate child pornography.
What is Grindr and Tinder? I'm not familiar with that.
Those are all social media apps that people are using to make contact. If you talk to some of the younger people, they'll probably know a little more details. All right, any other questions for the other agencies?
I guess, was there, there was no actual physical abuse? Is this all online based, or do you have any of these suspects have previous perhaps convictions or involved in person-to-person contact, that kind of thing?
Those are all great questions, and what I'll try to answer is this way: is the rules of ethics prevent me from talking about the specifics. And so a typical online solicitation case that's initiated or that's involved in law enforcement, the good thing is you're removing a child victim. And so you're having an investigator who's operating under the guidelines that are promulgated by the Internet Crimes Against Children, and the rules that they have to follow. And so what you'll have is an adult on one end, and they're playing the avatar or the role of a child. And so oftentimes in some of the chat rooms, what you're having is somebody who's looking for a minor male or a minor female or a minor Asian male or a minor Caucasian child. And so oftentimes the investigator are playing those roles. And so what you have is oftentimes this sexual fantasy is typically the defense that you'll hear was, hey, I wasn't going to do anything about it. The interesting part about the cases that we have in Montgomery County, the online solicitation, is the hundreds of micro movements that the suspects undertake to go meet these people. Every single one of these people that's been arrested, one of the suspects that's been arrested, has done an act in furtherance more than just mere communication. They've gotten their vehicle. They've bought the duct tape. They've bought the condoms. They've tried to arrange a meeting place, and they've shown up at that meeting place only to be disappointed to find the face of this or the face of this, and not the 12-year-old or the 13-year-old that they thought that they were going to have sex with.
How many were they seeking out girls? How many were seeking out boys?
I don't know the breakdown, but there's a combination of some that are seeking boys, some that are seeking girls, and you've got men seeking boys and seeking girls, and you've got it's a cross-section of depravity.
Do you have a general range of ages for the victims?
Well, remember these are online solicitation cases, and so you're going to be dealing with minor children.
So what ages were the investigators professing to be?
Anything of a minor child. And so you know, Cindy, I mean, I can tell you the ones that I'm personally aware of. Sometimes they want them as young as 9 or 10. Anybody that they would imagine that could be communicative and articulate on a computer screen or on a keyboard. And you got to remember, a 3-year-old doesn't type. And so that may be who they wanted, but all they could get was a 10-year-old who could actually type and respond. And so you're dealing with a little bit type of a different predator here, because they're making communication through computer chats and rooms and those types of things.
Any other unusual occupations besides the 3 we've talked about?
Well, I think those are 3 notable, but like I said, I don't want to get into the specifics. Tyler could probably give you more details with the investigative agents in regards to each.
Is there anybody who actually...
I can tell you what's not involved. There's not an elected district attorney as a suspect.
Is there anybody who actually was involved in any of the arrest takedowns who can tell us, you know, what the victims' reactions were?
Absolutely. We've got many members of the task force here.
Recount it on camera for us? Not that we don't love your face.
No, I get it. You want the people that are actually out there. The problem is they don't want to get up here. They're all sitting back here in the back.
Make somebody.
Hey, any of the guys want to come up that have done some of the last search and arrest warrants that y'all have done? Mark?
Jay, while they're doing, I just want to give a couple of points here. First, I think I'm Brian Moskowitz from HSI. One of the things we want to stress is not every person that abuses a child, even sexually, is a pedophile. I mean, that's a specific condition, and there are people who abuse kids for lots of different reasons. It could be anger, it could be other things that are not defined by pedophilia. So that's, I think, an important distinction. The other thing to keep in mind is that true pedophiles, those who are looking to exploit kids, have time on their side and resources on their side. There's a process called grooming, and sadly, there are guides and how-to manuals available with the click of a mouse that teaches people and explains how to groom a child, how to get them to ultimately succumb to the pedophile's advances. And that's some scary stuff out there. And people need to understand, as a parent, I mean, if this was available when my kid was little, I would have read this book, because these manuals, they are eye-opening, and there are things you can do to counter and thwart the efforts of someone who's trying to harm your kids. The biggest thing is awareness and knowing where your kids are and who has contact with them. But I would encourage you to look and see what's out there. It is an eye-opening thing, and it will scare you. It honestly will, and it should.
How much of this happens, not just in Montgomery County, what are you seeing in the other counties like Harris and elsewhere?
But I can tell you from a global perspective, this is happening everywhere, everywhere. You know, as in my role, I cover about a quarter of the state of Texas. In my same role, different location, I cover the states of Michigan and Ohio. We couldn't keep up with the demand for these cases. It is that prevalent. It's every walk of life. People will travel from around the world to abuse a child, and as the DA said, I mean, these are everywhere. In cases, not in this area, but in others. I mean, we had people, for example, traveling from overseas, thinking they were having sex with a kid, who were pediatric anesthesiologists who brought sedatives and were ready, thinking they were having sex with a child. There is no end to the desire or the will of some of these folks to abuse your kids. Your kids are at risk. I mean, I don't want to, scare people in one sense, but you really do need to trust no one.
Can you spell your name?
Sure, it's MOS KOWITZ.
And we've heard like some statistics that, you know, drunk drivers will drive 80 times drunk before they get caught. How often do these people do this before they actually get caught, or is there any way to tell?
I mean, I hate to generalize. I can tell you that we have uncovered cases where people have, and I'm not a computer expert like some of my guys are, but I mean, terabytes of images and videos, and have abused or collected over years. So, I mean, I'm sure it runs the range as in any other crime. What we do find often, at least in the cases that I'm aware of, is they're often very quick to confess. I don't know if it's a guilt and a release kind of thing, a relief when we walk in the door, but in my experience, very often, we don't go to trial. There's a confession.
Can whoever was going to talk to us, whoever just take that?
Get a name.
We have several investigators. Come on, step forward.
The least shy one.
The least shy? Behind the scenes, none of them are shy. I'm
Yeah.
surprised that they're,
Yes, we're very
and you gotta remember,
sorry.
the type of work that they do, when they're constantly, the type of work that the investigators do, I think makes them shy away from the limelight, because so often what they're doing is these images are imprinted into their head, and so, you know, we do a baseline for the equivalent of post-traumatic stress disorder, because we really have to tend to the mental well-being of the investigators. There's a shelf life as to how long you can do this type of work without being traumatized yourself as an investigator. And so you kind of get a gallows humor. And so when I'm walking down the halls of the Internet Crimes Against Children, I can tell you, I've yet to meet a shy one, which is why I'm surprised that they're being so shy today. So we'll try to get some of them to come up here. Mark Seals, Jeff Nichols, why don't y'all
Can you talk about some of your really worst examples of what you heard or saw?
and if you just, if you talk about cases that have already been disposed of as opposed to any that are currently pending.
What's your name, sir, and rank?
Okay.
My name is Officer Jeff Nichols.
You spell that for us?
It's Nichols.
What's what?
I work for Conroe Police Department. One of the cases that we were, District Attorney Ligon was talking about that pled already, he was a lifelong criminal. Part of his criminal history included escape from Walker County Jail back in '94. He told us he still had 19 years left on parole. He was communicating with me, and I was able to identify him. And through that identification, Investigator Surratt was able to figure out that he was talking to him as well. So he showed up at close to the designated meeting spot, and he was taken into custody.
Which, is he one of these guys?
Yes.
Which one is he?
I'm sorry.
His name is Jesse Scarborough.
Guy with the-
Could you tell us his reaction when you showed up, or I don't know which one of you guys?
And he's already pled guilty.
Right, he already pled.
Yes, he pled to 25 for each count. He was charged with online solicitation by me, as well as Investigator Surratt. We both had enough evidence to charge him with a case. He pled to 25 years on each count.
Did he express any shock or remorse or?
Well, because of his criminal history, we showed a pretty good use of presence. We didn't want to take any chances, and so yes, he was very shocked.
Does it make you feel, I guess, I mean, kind of vindication or
Was he
reason behind
sorry
it?
about it, or was he sorry? Had he ever contacted, actually reached a child?
Not that he admitted, but he didn't indicate any remorse at all, no.
Officer Nichols, when you made contact with this guy online, what were you doing? You pretending to be a 14-year-old girl or something? What?
Yes, a 15-year-old female.
And how long did that conversation carry on, would you say, until before he decided he wanted to meet you?
For approximately a day.
Is that an average length of communication before you guys are able to?
You know, it varies greatly, so there's not really any.
How do you get that technique? Did you go to school? Is that something you have to be in school for?
Yes, we go to training, quite a bit of training, and then just trial and error. Sometimes you'll learn certain keywords that shuts the conversation down, and then just try to keep going.
We've heard in general that people in these cases will use all kinds of methods to try to disguise their location and to avoid law enforcement. Can you talk a little bit about that and the kind of the challenge you guys have in trying to keep up with that?
Without giving up any investigative techniques.
Yeah, that's kind of a difficult question, as Mr. Ligon pointed out. We don't like to give up our techniques because, you know, the criminals do, the pedophiles do watch the news. They do learn from it. I think one thing that we have learned is that every time this happens, a press release, we kind of dry up for a while. We don't get any active cases.
And that's been reported by district attorneys across the region, that when there is a press conference, press release dealing with child sex crimes, solicitation, what you'll see is a depression in the amount of online chatting. And so remember when we said earlier, let's don't squander what this opportunity is really about. We're trying to get the message out because frankly, we don't want it to happen in Montgomery County. We don't want it to happen in Harris County.
Who's the other guy who fled? I'm sorry, you had that guy and there's another guy?
Have to make yourself sound like a girl.
Well, I mean, it's like Detective Nichols says, it's all, we write it and stuff like that, but we have to learn trial and error.
Okay.
You gotta learn the lingo and stuff like that.
So it's all in written form, so
You
they
type
don't
in
hear your
higher
voice.
Right.
That's a good one, Phil. Who was the other guy who fled? I'm not sure if I was clear on that.
This is the band instructor.
Yeah.
To Gene DeForest's right elbow, you've got the TDC guard, the gentleman in the middle aisle with the beard. And then you've got the gentleman on the two that pled?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you have that one guy and then who's the other
The
guy?
guy with the tattoo in the middle of his throat is
Yeah.
one of them.
That's Scarborough.
That's Scarborough.
Yeah.
Scarborough and Jerry Bay.
I'm sorry, those guys are in jail, right, or in prison?
They're in jail pending transport to
Who was the
TDC.
second guy?
Who's the other
Scarborough
guy?
and who?
Scarborough and who?
Jerry Beatty.
Beatty?
Beatty.
B-A-T-E-A. I believe.
Do you recall what he pled to?
It's the two that have already pled are Jesse Scarborough, Jessie, Scarborough, Scarborough, and the other one is Jerry, common spelling, Beatty, B-A-T-Y.
What kind of time they looked at on those two? That
Two
played?
defendants in these operations have already pled guilty and were sentenced to 52 years.
In which
each.
court?
Scott, I don't know those details, but Marion Ann and Tyler May,
So he's got 52 years sentence.
combined between.
Combined.
That's Jerry right there?
This is Jerry.
That's Jerry
which
Beatty.
ones?
And Jerry Betty, and then that's Mr. Scarborough up there, tattoo.
Did you say a couple of guys skied out after they were you got away, left? You guys say somebody was on the lam or not?
No, you
Yeah,
said were they in
that's-
prison, and I was it was an attorney answered, one of them's in jail waiting transport to go to Tennessee's.
Yeah, I want to make sure I didn't
The
misunderstand.
prison guard, what prison was he assigned to?
Ferguson unit.
We're gonna believe Phil Archer. He said Ferguson.
You paid for that.
Ferguson unit, what was his role in Ferguson unit? Just a guard?
In that case, it's still pending.
Where is
So,
Ferguson?
Texas.
What's the age range for the suspects?
The age range of the suspects? It looks to me anywhere from, mid-20s to, I know one of the oldest one is 71 or 72. And the allegation against him was he was attempting to meet an 11-year-old boy. Yes, and that's this gentleman here.
What's his name?
I don't know his name.
You don't have it up there.
What do you do again?
Point to him again.
Online solicitation of a minor. They asked me what the age of and where. I know that it appears anywhere from mid-20s to as old as in the early 70s. And the online solicitation in this case, the allegation is he was coming to meet an 11-year-old boy.
So we've seen over the last month, we've seen a lot of these online sting efforts in Harris County, Fort Bend, Galveston County just last week. Is this part of a bigger region-wide effort, coordination between the counties?
Yes, that's a good answer, and since I've been given most of them, we'll let the commander.
Officer Nichols, and this is the 7-year-old.
My name is Richard Hahn. I'm a sergeant with the Houston Police Department, and I'm the commander of the Houston Metro Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. To answer your question, all of the undercover chat stings and search warrants we've been executing over the last couple of months are part of Operation Broken Heart, which is Operation Broken Heart 2. This is the second year, which is a nationwide push of all of the ICAC task forces. There's 61 in the country. It's a nationwide push. It was 2 months, April and May, to bolster and try to reduce the number of victims and increase the number of suspects, like ADA Ligon was District Attorney Ligon was talking about.
So how about, what, in the other task force, as far as in the Houston region, was it just the one in Montgomery County that was involved in it this 2 months? Or other counties in the Houston region involved in doing this?
We have 56 agencies in our 8-county task force. And a lot of times, members of those agencies will travel to different counties to help out in chat stings, undercover chat stings, and search warrants.
So this time it was just focusing in Montgomery County?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, geographically, it's easier for the constable's office and Conroe and all the local police departments to stay in the geographic region, and then prosecution-wise for DA Ligon's office to prosecute in Montgomery County.
All right, anything else? It was this guy, not this guy. That's what.
That was the second?
If you can edit out the part where I said this guy.
That's, that one's name is Michael Daly. Or Daly, I'm sorry, Michael Daly.
Who's the firefighter?
The bottom right, second, the firefighter's name is Jay Stanford. Arrested June 4th, 2015 for online solicitation of minor. It's a second gentleman in on the bottom row. All right, nothing else. Thank you so much for coming out. If y'all have any questions, please contact Tyler, but I'll let him finish up.
Well, just wanted to let you know, we do have a Spanish speaker here from our office. I know there was a request for that, so Joel Daniels is here back there on the wall. He can come up and talk if anybody would like to get a statement from him as well. So appreciate y'all being here.
Don't worry.
Wait.
It ranges from all sorts of things.
I don't know whose this is, but I'm taking a picture of this one first.